take the Sforno one step further, it's a Tosfot in Sechet Psachim, which I quoted for you over here also. It's on page 5. It quotes the Midrash. It's what we have in the Haggadah Shal Pesach. It says, V'nomar lefanav shira chadasha, v'chein nodelecha shir chadash agulatenu. And the Midrash, in the Mechilta, in the Halachic Midrash, in Sefer Shemot, picks up why, at the beginning, do we say shira chadasha? When we talk about Geula, we talk about shir chadash in the Lashon Zachar. And here the Midrash says, it's the third to last source on the page 5, Kol hashirot Lashon Nekeva, Chutz Mishira Delatid, the Lashon Zachar. Klomar, Shanekeva Yesh La Tsar Leida. That even all the miracles, what I would say, Baderech, Yesh Achreim Tsar, all the miracles on the Derech, they have a lot of Tsar. As opposed to the future, She'en Achrei HaTzar, and that's what it means, Shir Chadash. What the Mialet is saying is, don't get caught up in the Ben-Oni. Know that in the future, you're going to have it's going to be a Ben. And that you're what? You're going to be able to have what? You're going to be able to have Binyamin. And for that, in that reason only, what's going to happen? You're going to have a Beit HaMikdash. Because look what the Gemara says. The Gemara says that he was mitzta'er aleh b'chol yom. It's something that he struggled with. It's something that he cared about. To the point that it's not only mitzta'er aleh b'chol yom l'nola, but what does the Gemara say in Sotah? Why does he get the Beit HaMikdash? Because he jumps in to the Yam, right? He's able to take that chance of being that Ben-Oni, right? You don't just become the Binyamin without just Binyamin. What do you have to do? You got to jump in, Red Yam. You got to sacrifice that. What's going to happen? You're going to get stones thrown at you, right? You're going to, and it might be even from your own Yehuda, right? We're not talking about enemies here. It's from your own internal mishpacha. You might have to take it a la roche. To the point that some of the Mefarshim deal with, I believe that's, I mean, they change it in a different gematria, but what's Binyamin? In the name is Binyan and Yam. To be able to have the Binyan within his name, he teaches me what? To be able to have Binyan, you want to be able to build that big house. What do you have to do? You have to be able to be willing to be that Ben-Oni. You have to be willing to what? Jump into the sea. To be able to show that you really care about it. That is the message of why so it's not by chance that it's Ben-Oni and Binyamin. It's actually very much, they're not fighting, but it's actually very much complementary. And with that, I think that's the message of why Keva Rachel, why is she's dafka what? Baderach. She's dafka Baderach because she's emphasizing that message. Already within her pregnancy, within that message of, it's complementary obviously to what Rashi says also, but it's a different spin, right? We always think or say it's the same idea of yesh tikva la'achritech, right? The idea is emphasizing the message of Baderech to know, don't skip already to the end. Of you look at the superstars and you say, oh, I want to be like them, they're making millions and billions, or I want to be that tzaddik of the art scroll story, and we know that that's not true, right? The idea is it's Ben-Oni, it's the every step of the way of mitzta'er alel b'chol yom. I believe that if this is true, I think there's one other step to this, which is if you look on this in the sources, there's a Gemara on Baba Batra. The Gemara Baba Batra, if you go to page 6, okay. Now again, this is also true if you continue going in the Psukim. I won't do that. But if you look in the Bracha in Perek Lamed Gimel of the Binyamin Amar Yedid Hashem Yishkonav Cholfeif Alav Kol Hayom, again, I think there is the same message. For example, the Ramban says, right, why is Bank Teifav and doesn't say Al Rosho? Again, the Fisha Beit HaMikdash Einav B'Gova Harmamish Elamata Ma'at, teaching you this message, the same message of being that you got to work on the derech, etc. And he keeps talking about it there. But what I wanted to focus on just for now is this Gemara on Baba Batra Daf Yud Zayin. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan Shiv'a Lo Sholat Behen Rima V'Toliyah. There are 7 people that the worms did not control them. The Elohim, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, and Binyamin ben Yaakov. So it hit me with this Gemara. What hit me in this Gemara? 2 things hit me in the Gemara. Before we actually see what it means. Anybody have a question on that Gemara? What? Order of it could be, right? The order kind of makes sense, though. No, it is in somewhat order. Meaning, if it would have said Yaakov before Yitzchak, whatever it is. That's good. That's true also.
What's Miriam doing that?
Okay, that's true.
It's like Sarah and her.
Okay.
Why Ben Yaakov?
Oh, that's another piece that hit me big time. Why Binyamin ben Yaakov? Right? I don't know that already. I don't know he's Binyamin ben Yaakov. What is the Gemara trying to teach me? And obviously, what is also the message of Shalosh Shal? What is this reference of Rima v'Toleah? So what hit me before we actually see why these specific people and what the message is the Mishnah in Masechet Avot, the last Mishnah on in source in page 6, which is Akavi ben Mahalal Omer. Stakel b'shlosha dvarim v'iyata bal lidei avira. Da me'ayin bata ula'ano tolech v'lifnei mi'ata atid litain din v'cheshbon. Me'ayin bata mitipa sucha ula'ano tolech l'makom afar rima v'toleah v'lifnei mi'ata atid litain din v'cheshbon lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what hit me when I heard rima v'toleah is I thought about this Mishnah. And I thought it wasn't just by chance. Because what is the message? How do I make sure that the end of Rima v'Toleah is not, I'm not mushlat by that end goal? How do I know that? The answer is I have to be focused on La'ana Taholech. I got to be focused on the derech. I got to look, not always say that the only way that there's going to be is Binyamin is when I'm Binyamin. But rather there's got to be the Benoni. And that is the message of what the Gemara says. Elohim, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Dichti, Bakol, Mikol, Kol. Right? And that's Rashi there quotes from Breshit, Chaye Sarah, Hashem Berach Avram Bakol, Yitzchak, Vachel Mikol, Yaakov, V'chi Yesh Li Kol. And we know what is the message of Kol. The message of Kol, if you look at it in the Ramban, in two different places, the Ramban in Perek Chavdal, and I brought it for you over here. The Ramban in Tcheles. The whole concept of Tcheles, the Ramban says, is the midah of Kol. What is the midah of Kol with Tcheles? The Gemara Menachos says that what? That a guy wears Tcheles. Why? Because the blue, the Tcheles is domeh to the Yam. The Yam is Rakia Shamayim. Shamayim is domeh to what? Kisei HaKavod. Okay? I had a problem this summer when I was teaching the guys, you have to always teach high school guys, right, about why they have to wear tzitzis because they get the wrong information that they don't have to wear tzitzis. And then in high school, and part of their rebellion is that they don't have to wear tzitzis, right? Even though it's the easiest mitzvah in the world. But okay, I understand your high school boys will be high school boys, right? But it bothered me when I learned that Gemara. Why not just say, Tcheles is domeh l'shamayim, or domeh, just say Tcheles domeh l'shamayim, which is domeh. Okay, I can understand part. Why do I have to even say domeh l'yam? I didn't understand that. Well, I don't know that the Shamayim is blue. I know the Shamayim is blue. But I thought it's the same message of Kol. The message of Kol of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov is that every step of the way, they understood the Tachlit. They understood Binyamin, right? But they understood the Benoni. They were able to see Hashem. The Midah of Kol is seeing God everywhere. Understanding the Tachlit, as Rav Govich would say, the concept of Cheles being the Tachlit, understanding the purpose, but understanding every single the way of La'ana Taholech, the concept of the Derech, which is the whole message of Binyamin, the message of Kfurat Rachel. Okay? Now, the only problem with this pshat would be, according to everything that I said, it answers up all the 8 questions, except the one that Mr. Miller has said, which is what? Why is it Binyamin ben Yaakov? According to what we said, it should be Binyamin ben Rachel. And then the Gemara didn't even have to say that. Right? So I thought, because Rachel is the epitome of this message also. So I thought maybe, again, the simple pshat of why it would say Binyamin ben Yaakov is because the Gemara just said Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov also. But I think there's the other, to try to, I guess, put it all together, there's a beautiful pshat within Yaakov, which is, I think I brought it down also here, which it's specifically Binyamin ben Yaakov, because Yaakov, as we've seen, has this message also, which is, if you look at the last source in front of you on page 7, we learned in Perek Lamed Gimel, if you remember, Yaakov Nasa Sukkota, which we briefly mentioned before about his Ichur HaNeder, but for a different issue, is the Or HaChaim asked the question over there, which hopefully many of you, when you read the Parsha, dealt with this question, which is, why does he call it Sukkot? Right? He builds booths for the cattle and houses for humans, right? So therefore, since he built booths for what? For cattle, therefore, V'Yaakov kara Sukkota. So everybody asked that question. I saw it in the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, but it doesn't make sense. Why is he calling it after Sukkota? So the Or HaChaim in front of you says, V'im tomar v'chi b'shvil she'asa sham Yaakov sukkah yikarei l'makom kein. So he says, Ulai ki asa davar chadash. He did something unique. B'chemlato ala mikneh. Mashalo asakein adam kodem. Shiachin sukkah lebeimot. U'lishinoi chadash kara makom alav. He did something different. So I wanted to say that it's not just he made Sukkot, which was different. The Oznaim Torah of Zalman Saratskin also says the idea that he made lots of Sukkot, and it's something that wowed the people. It was a totally a paradigm shift that he made these Sukkot for the animals. But I thought it's Dafka, the message of Sukkah, that Yaakov connected to, and that he embodied, that it was Binyamin got this message, and because it's not just by chance, Binyamin got this message of understanding that it's not Binyamin, but it's Ben-Oni leading to Binyamin. He didn't only get it from Rachel, but he also got it. That Chiddush was from Yaakov also. Because the whole message of Sukkot, if we go way back when, is hinted to, it's not hinted to, it's stated explicitly in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. It's not in front of you, because I already had 7 pages already, or more, right? But if you look in the Gemara and Avodah Zarah on Daf Bet Amud Bet, Daf Gimel, there's a whole long Agadata about the mitzvah of Sukkah. And if you look at it, the Gemara describes how a pasuk in Yeshayahu, Hashem announces that in the future, anybody who has learned Torah should come and collect their schar and their reward. And the Gentiles come, and the Gemara describes a very long Agadata back and forth. There in the middle of the Gemara on Bet Amud Bet, the Gemara describes that the Romans, the Persians, coming before Hashem and claiming they built roads and bridges in order for the Jews to learn Torah. And Hashem castigates them, if you know the Gemara. They say, you only built it for your own interests, for your harlots and for your taxes, etc., etc. The Gemara describes that these nations are singled out for a specific reason, which we won't get into now. And on that Gemara, the Sefer Benayahu, one of the Achronim, quotes a question of the Chidah, a bomb question. This exact same Gemara of saying that I should deserve the reward is quoting the Gemara Shabbat on Lamed Gimel Amud Bet. And there it's Rabbi Yehuda who's stating the praises of these nations for the efforts in building these bathhouses and bridges for Am Yisrael to learn Torah. And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai answers back to Rabbi Yehuda, taking the persona, if you will, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and saying, what are you talking about? Right? They only did it for their own selfish needs. So the question the Chidah, Rav Chaim Yosef David Azulai asks is, what's Rabbi Yehuda thinking? How is it possible that he's taking on the persona of the Persians, the Romans? Right? Isn't Rav Shimon Bar Yochai so clear? So the Chidah himself answers, really, he was talking out of the fear of the local Malchut, and he didn't really believe in the purity of any of their motivations. But the Sefer Benayahu answers something totally different. He answers that Rav Yehuda was talking in code. He was saying, please make Kal V'chomer. Look at the nations of the world and look at their success despite their lack of fulfilling Ratzon Hashem. Kal V'chomer Am Yisrael, in the future, as per Rabbi Akiva's reaction to the Churban Habayit, is that it might look bleak right now, but I'm able to laugh and see the building in the not so distant future. The insight of this is a whole spin of what the message of Sukkah is and the Goyim. Because you remember the end of the Gemara. The Gemara continues and says that despite not having the same reward as the Jews, they asked Hashem, please still give us the Torah. And the Gemara there says Hashem calls them shotim, idiots. Which just sounds like what? Hashem just like ranking on them? But it's specific, I believe. Hashem calls them shotim, and he says, Mi shetorach b'Shabbos hu yocha b'Shabbos. Meaning, excuse me, Mi shetorach b'Erev Shabbos hu yocha b'Shabbos. Which means what? It's specifically, what does shotim mean? Shotim means you're lacking the proper das. You're missing what? The tircha. What's the idea? exactly what we're saying. We'll continue even explaining it. But he says, I'll give you what is seemingly is a mitzvah kala, which is the Gemara of Sukkah. Right? And the Gemara says, because you don't empty your pockets, not so much money, it's the mitzvah of Sukkah. And the Gemara describes that right away. They put the Sukkah up in the roof, and Hashem put up a blistering heat upon them, that they left the Sukkah, but not only did they leave the Sukkah, what they do? They kicked it down. And the Gemara says, wow, even the Jews are patur from Sukkah, mitzta'er, of this blistering sun. The Gemara says the difference is we don't kick it down. The Gemara concludes that Hashem was laughing at them. Schok. Tehillim Perek Bet. The question is, what's this meaning of the Gemara? So the Ben Yoyada states there that the Goyim said, Tenu lanu rosh v'na asena. The Goyim were saying, and I'll use it in my terms right now, let us be Binyamin. Let us be the rosh already. They said we should be able to get some reward. We did something. We should have that rosh existence. And Hashem said, Shotim, you don't have the das. You don't understand that it's to get to Binyamin, what do you have to get to? You have to know the Benoni. You have to be Misha Torach Be'erev Shabbos is the only one who's going to be able to yochel the chalent on Shabbos. So Hashem says to be that rosh, you have to know how to be Benk Tefav Shachen. You have to know how you need the tircha, the yisurin. It's not all easy. To get a Beit HaMikdash, you have to be a binyan, but you have to know that you have to go to the yam to be able to get to that. It's not all easy. Hashem says you want to see Olam Haba in this world, it needs tircha. This is the vision and the dot of Rabbi Akiva, and this is the message. This is why he calls them shotim, because they didn't have the das for this. That's what it means, the deeper message of what? When they kicked it down. What's the kicking it down mean? What does the regalim represent? The regel is what we always say, raglei mevaser, right? The whole concept of regel is what? How do you go baderech? Is with your foot, right? The regel, right? We always say ikvadan the meshicha. The whole concept is it represents. They kicked it down because they said, what is this? Just give me, right? What happens when you win the Super Bowl? You go, what? Give me Disneyland, right? Where somebody told me that, what is it? I was thinking that because where's the castle? Cinderella's castle? What is that? Something like that? There's a certain castle. What? The Magic? No, a different one. In Disney World. That's the castle, right? That's the concept. Right? In Disney World, you have Cinderella's castle. That's how they view it. It's right. You go there. You ever go in Disney World? It's like, everything is all Binyamin. And our message is not that way. Our message is you have to have the yam to get to the binyan. They kick down the sukkah because they can't see it as a baderach. That's something that's not in their message. That's the message, if you see, and that's why at the end it's Hashem who's saying that's the schok. What is he laughing? Because he's saying you have to be able to have the Rabbi Akiva's vision, and that's the pshat of Binyamin ben Yaakov. Because the concept is Yaakov had that message of Bakol, and Yaakov was that message of Sukkota, that he was able to make that shinoi, be able to make that change, and if you will, go against the norm of what we have. So I believe that we've tried to answer all the 8 questions. And obviously for us, the message is very simple. As much as we want to all be Binyamin and be able to be strong and to show our strength, but to know, to be able to get to that, you have to have the Yisurim, the Tircha of the Benoni, and through there, Be'ezrat Hashem, we will see the Beit HaMikdash in the Chelek of Binyamin through each and one of our Tircha to be able to make Shabbat, the Olam Haba, in this world of Olam Hazeh.